Hi, this is Jim Cranston from 7 Every Minute and 7everyminute.com, the podcast, a website about reimagining your life. Thanks for joining me tonight to talk about, well, retiring on your own terms. So let's get started. If you like what you hear today, please leave a like, tell your friends, send me a message. Tonight's about retiring on your own terms. It sounds simple at the surface, but for a while I've been wanting to start interviewing people again, focusing on folks who have retired in one way or another. There are many reasons for this, and a big reason is so that others can see that there are many different ways to retire and to varying different degrees of retirement. As we've often said, once you get your life vision visible to yourself and remind yourself what it is essentially every day, then retirement becomes a huge new opportunity, not the end of being productive. I've also noticed a trend of late, although the trend itself is not new. Basically, once you formalize something, it usually both loses its spark and its focus. So I used to go to something called Dance Flurry in upstate New York, and it was just an awesome cross-cultural music and dance festival in this hotel, and every room and aisle were filled with people playing music and dancing and every imaginable sort of every genre. It was fun, and there's overflow to other buildings outside. It was really a lot of fun. But then it became a thing. It got public funding, so naturally that meant it became to some degree outcome based because you had to show you were serving the most people with those funds you're getting. So naturally, the best attended events became more common, while the fringe events became fewer and fewer. It was there that I learned a ton about the beat of Latin music. It was from a class group. They actually drove out from the Berklee School of Music in Boston in a blizzard to be there. It was an awesome presentation, but it didn't have as many people as, say, the contra dances did. So the last time I went, a few years ago, the whole event had basically turned into essentially a huge contra dance with some supporting alternative activities. So all that exposure to Latin and African music, other cultures, people from other cultures, all the other peoples slowly went away and it turned into something else. In a sense, it was more efficient. There were probably more attendees, but it no longer offered the cultural exposure upon which it was founded. So was it a success? Well, it really kind of depended upon how you viewed it. So what does this have to do with retirement? It turns out quite a lot. Retirement, and life for that matter, have really become quite formalized in terms of what society considers a success. There are many rules, most of which are really pushing for a specific outcome. And if you don't fit the rules, then somehow you failed, or so they say. Medicare, for example, to pick one aspect of retirement, penalizes people who still work heavily. I pay more for health insurance now in Medicare than I did on private self-pay plan as a contractor with no employer to support it. The message is clear. I and you are supposed to retire and stop working when society says so. Otherwise, you pay a penalty, ostensibly kind of to make it fair, so they say. And if you don't start Medicare on time, say the website made a mistake, then you get a significant lifetime penalty, which just happened to a friend of mine. She's being penalized roughly 1/8 of her gross income, right? We're here to help you, says the government. But most will claim that Medicare is a success because you can measure all the positive outcomes and arrange the numbers to show how successful it is. But perhaps they're measuring the wrong things. The program works, but much like Dance Flurry, it's not really serving the people it was intended to in the way it was designed to. And there are many examples of that sort of mismatch that affect us in retirement. Some are hard rules, like with Medicare, but there are a lot of soft rules as well. They say that if you work when you should retire, then you obviously didn't plan and are, well, somewhat of a loser. Spoiler alert, you aren't a loser in any way. Remember that much of society is based around selling someone something. So if you aren't a viable marketing target, then yes, to many of the creators of modern society, you are a loser. But who's the real loser? Those people who are trying to spend themselves into happiness, or people who are following their vision? Clearly, the visionaries are on the correct path. Also in the paper today, the Wall Street Journal, I came across a story about a place called Mike's Bikes, Mikes, Mike's Bikes. And it's really one of the projects run by a minister, Roberta Harmon of Rapid City, South Dakota. And she has a couple of places. It's whymeincorporated.com, whymeinc.com, and it's a youth ministry actually. And so it's Roberta has the ministry serving, like I said, the youth, also the homeless, the community in need in general, with a number of outreach and support programs like a gardening program and such. And they're each targeting the needs of her local people. There was an editorial in today's Wall Street Journal, separate from this, noting that roughly 20% of the government handouts to lower middle class people are taken back either in direct taxes or punitive benefit reductions because they have income. So again, we see a program on paper that looks like a huge success, giving money to the needy, but in reality pushes them into more taxes and loses sight of what it's supposed to do, which is help people in need. But back to Roberta and why me, INC, right? She's actually working literally first person with the people she's caring for and knows exactly what they need. One of the big items is transportation so they can work. Hence, she recycles bicycles via Mike's Bikes, and it's worked. People are able to get to work, they're able to hold down a job. And it's not like they're putting a ton of money into it, it's not like they're giving them a car. They actually have to, put some effort in to get to work, and it's a fairly low expense. So trying to tie it all together now, I hope you're starting to see that how you define success and how other people define success could be very different. And I'm hoping you see that how you define your own success in terms of your vision and like helping the desperately needy in Roberta's case may very well be viewed as a failure by some. But you have to ask yourself, does their opinion matter compared to your vision? Said another way, once you reconcile your future vision of you, that should probably be the real measure of your happiness and your worth, not some statistic created by people who don't know your situation. Medicare, Dance Flurry, and the welfare programs all have outcome-based success stories, but who says they're measuring the correct outcomes? Minister Roberta Harmon, Father Gregory Boyle of Homeboy Industries, I've talked about him before, Tattoos on the Heart. He also has another book, Barking to the Choir. Let's get him, there we go. He's located in LA, works with the gangs. They, and you actually, you all know what need to be done on the ground to make your life fulfilling. Paraphrasing Father Greg, he speaks long and eloquently on the subject, so the paraphrase will be a little rough. But he talks about outcome-based measuring. He says, and outcome-based measures exclude the population that he serves, namely those groups of people who are most likely to fail. They have the worst numerical outcomes, but the most to gain with every success. And I think that's a really powerful insight as to the weakness of outcome-based anything. Remember, there's a lot of things in society that are trying to attain a certain outcome, and they will try and push you in all sorts of directions, and they'll do that by many different means, either by trying to create a want in you, the classic marketing, or by trying to shame you into doing some action or whatever. So as you look at your retirement, look at your vision, and then view it from that standpoint. So wrapping it all up, and back to why I'm starting to look around for candidates to interview, I think one of the biggest falsehoods told to people approaching retirement is that if you don't retire one specific way, then you have failed. Absolutely not true. If you're able to retire comfortably and your vision is to just relax, and you can do that, that's great if it matches your vision. But if your vision and reality are different, as long as they are consistent and you're as comfortable as possible, then you are your own personal success. An old friend of mine confided in me that despite many years of good pay, his retirement will require some adjustments. But he said they did a lot of travel during their lives, he and his wife, and it gave him a world perspective that served him well in life and in his work and in ways that he could never have gotten other than by actually doing it first-person travel. And he seemed a little hesitant to tell me this, and I know why, because they would say that he failed, because now his retirement isn't some glorious luxury thing. I'd say his life thus far was a great success, a fabulous success, and he's approaching retirement with the same enthusiasm as he did life. That, to me, seems like a complete win. He lived towards his vision, and he'll retire consistent with his vision. It gets no better no matter what society tries to tell you. So that's it for tonight. The big takeaway is that you get to define your own vision, and that determines your own measure of success, both before and after retirement. Don't get swayed or brought down by all the expensive ads. With those perky elderly couple getting out of their Cadillac at the dock of the cruise ship. Good for them. Quite frankly, you had and still have better things to do that are aligned with your vision. Own it, be proud of it, live it to its fullest. And I'll try and start locating and interviewing people who are living less conventional, but probably more common and probably more satisfying retirements than you see on TV and social media. Be yourself and be awesome. Your homework, always optional, is to think about what you've heard retirement should be. Now think about what you would find most satisfying in retirement. As always, start off by imagining you couldn't possibly fail and build it out to how the retirement you would like to see. Extra points if you take one aspect of that true inner vision and start with the success of accomplishing what you want and work backwards towards the present. Write down the steps, set some SMART goals, and get started on your retirement. Also, as always, thank you very much for joining me, but please remember the people who are in actually a war zone, quite frankly, right now. Links to aid at UKR7. United 24 is another place you can look. And then World Central Kitchen. There's a lot of bad stuff going on in the world, not only Ukraine, obviously, and a lot of people need help, but it's not just people overseas. And there's people all around that can use a little encouragement when you see them. So if you just see somebody in the street, costs you nothing, maybe you can't make a donation anyway, that's fine, that's understandable. But you see somebody who looks a little down, just smile at them, say, hey, how's it going? How's your day going? Hope you have a good day, buddy. And remember, one of the best ways to care for yourself is to care for others. You can either care for them, monetarily, you can care for them by actually taking care of them. You can just care for them by being nice to them. It makes the whole day better and just helps the world overall. So if you can and you're able, check it out, ukr7.com, wck.org. Just say hi to somebody, make their day a little brighter. As always, thank you for stopping by. If you found something interesting or useful, please pass it along and please hit that like button. If not, please drop me a comment as to what you'd like to hear. Have a great week. Remember to live the life that you dreamed of, because that's the path to your contentment. Love and encouragement to everyone. See you next week on 7 Every Minute and 7everyminute.com. Thank you so much.